Hello everybody and welcome back to the Leeds Lens. We do have some positive news this morning, fantabidosi. Yes, James Justin is set to sign for Leeds United for a reported fee of 8 million plus 2 million in potential add-ons. So we're going to talk a bit about that today and actually why the price point isn't so bad, because I've seen online it's overpriced. Shut it. Just shut it. No, I'm joking. You can have your own opinion, but I'm going to tell you why I believe that is a fair price and why I believe he's perfect for Leeds United. Because I talked about it before, I'm talking about it again. I think he's perfect. And also, if you look on the right-hand side, wrong finger, he is actually now top of the signing scale tree, of course. And I've given him a 5 because he's going to happen. We're also going to talk about Bakwa, who as well is on the signing scale and has been moved down from a 3 to a 2. We'll talk about why that is because Isaac Johnson's given us an update there, of course. Isaac Johnson of the Leeds Live. We're also going to talk about Gonzalez, who's back on the signing scale as well. He's got a 1 out of 5 rating because Isaac Johnson, again, in his report, it's fantastic news story this morning from Isaac. And he's talked a bit about Nico Gonzalez again, so we'll bring that up again. And we're also finally going to talk about a few other stories that have been going on in the Leeds United space. And they've been sort of banging on for about a month now. Well, some of them have been resolved now with them not turning up at Leeds United. So we're going to basically discuss a bit about that as well. And also, of course, throughout the video, I'm going to give my take on all these certain things that are going on. Hopefully you guys enjoy it. If you do, if you could drop a like, subscribe, all that good stuff, it does massively help the channel. And also, I'm trying to hit 1,000 subscribers, people know. And I'm now at 920, so only 80 away. So if you could be so generous as to drop in a subscribe, that would be fantabidosi. Anyway, let's get the bad story out of the way first. And let's talk a bit about Bakwa, and then we'll get on to Gonzalez and Justin and all these other stories as well. Bakwa. Yeah. This one's annoying. This is annoying. Basically, Isaac Johnson, for a bit of a summary of where we're at right now, has reported that from his sources, from the Strasbourg end, we're not quite as close to the signing of Bakwa as potentially Sasha reported that we were. I mentioned this in yesterday's show, and I do not want to be Mystic Mac, and I don't want to be, oh, I've predicted this, whoopie-doo, well done to me. That is not what I want. But that is sort of how this has turned out. So in this situation, I've been Mystic Mac and don't want to be, but there we are. And it's basically reported that actually that Sunderland of all teams and Forest are closer to the signing of Bakwa. And I did say yesterday, I feel a bit like with the Khannouss saga, I feel like I'm a bit in deja vu from that. And I feel like, again, we're being used by Sasha to get other clubs back on the table for Bakwa. That's what I genuinely think is going on here. I think that with Khannouss, he was not getting the people coming forward to sign him. So it was put out a story that Leeds United are going to buy with, because we know Leeds United were linked to Khannouss. So put out a story that Leeds United are ready to pay 24.5 million, which was the reported fee at that point. We obviously know that wasn't even true anyway. Well, now it got reported at the weekend, obviously, that Bakwa, Leeds were ready to go there and ready to pay the money, and that was all fantastic. And surprise, surprise, it's all now calmed down, and Forest are back on the table, and Sunderland are looking at him. So again, have we been used? I think we probably have. I don't think we're going to sign Bakwa, if I'm being totally honest. I think there is I think Leeds United do want Bakwa, and I think if he was at a price point that we can actually afford, we would sign him. But yeah, I think we've been used, to be honest, by Sasha here and his agent, mainly Sasha's agent, or not Sasha's agent, the agent of Bakwa, to get Forest back on the table, saying that, look, Leeds United are going to buy him, Forest. You're going to have to swoop in quick and pay the money because he's going to go to Leeds United. And yeah, I think that's what's happened here. Not a nice story, and an annoying one. And more importantly, in that story, because we're going to get on to Nico Gonzalez, who was also mentioned this story. But it said that Leeds United don't actually have the money to pay 30 million quid or 35 million euros. I think 35 million euros obviously works out about 30.2 million. And it said Leeds United don't have the money to do that. That is concerning to me, because if we don't have that sort of money, we aren't going to get a quote-unquote statement signed that all people in the world have been mentioning about Leeds United for the last, I don't know, 3 months now. Who's going to be our statement signing? I haven't seen a statement signing walk through the door yet, in my personal opinion. Someone who's that next calibre, someone who's going to take Leeds United to that next level, almost like a Rafinha or even a Rodrigo that we signed last time. I know Rodrigo didn't quite work, but at the time, I think it was all understood from a Leeds United end that that was a statement signing for Leeds. So it is quite concerning, in my opinion, that we can't go get Bakwa. And if we link that into the next thing, which is about Nico Gonzalez, if we can't afford Bakwa, how can we afford Nico Gonzalez? This is the bit that didn't add up in Isaac's report. I'm not saying this is his fault. I don't think it is at all. Isaac's a really good journalist, as everybody knows. But my concern is, if we're not willing to pay 30 million euros or 30 million pounds, should I say, for Bakwa, Atletico Madrid have reportedly bid already 20 million for Gonzalez. And it's been pushed back because Juventus want around the 30 million euro mark, which obviously is about, I think, 27 million. But if we can't afford, if we can't afford 30 million for Bakwa, how on earth are we going to afford 27 or 26 million for Gonzalez? It didn't really add up, in my opinion, which is concerning, because then who are we going to get? Because the other thing with Bakwa is, and the thing I mentioned when we talked about this, obviously on Saturday when it was first broke, is for me this is a no-lose signing, really, because for Bakwa, when you look at how much other players have gone for, and I've talked about this with a number of players, but Otara went for 43 million, who yes, all right, did okay in the Premier League, but I think he's got a hat-trick in one game and 3 goals throughout the rest of the season. Omar Hutchinson got 2 goals, and he went for nearly 40 million as well at 38 million. And I even remember when obviously Burnley got relegated last summer, they sold Odebear for over £30 million, who didn't have a particularly great year in the Premier League either. So Bakwa, when you're buying him in at 22 years old, next summer he'll obviously be 23, as everybody knows. And at 23 years old, people will buy and pay for him on potential. And if he does anything next year, you'll instantaneously get your money back, even if Leeds are in the second division. So the fact that we can't pay 30 million isn't something to do with like he's not worth it, in my opinion, because I think it quite obviously is worth 30 million. It's to do with the fact that we actually can't afford 30 million. And if we can't afford 30 million, I'm concerned, because we haven't bought anyone over 20 million yet, I don't believe. So yeah, this is concerning. Oh, also, as I said, for me, writes off the Gonzalez transfer as well. But to talk about Gonzalez anyway, in terms of it, basically, Isaac reports in it that Daniel Farke prefers the idea of Nico Gonzalez to Bakwa. That's absolutely fine. Gonzalez is a really good player. Gonzalez is a player that, not last season because he struggled at Juventus, but the year before, tore it up at Fiorentina. I think got 12, 13 goals, something like that. Was near on there. I think was one of the sort of top right wingers in the Serie A, that division. Was linked to a number of clubs. Ended up going to Juventus, and yeah, it hadn't quite worked out. But this summer, Atletico Madrid are on the table for him, and apparently they've already tabled, from according to Fabrizio Romano, a 20 million euro bid. So this guy's clearly got pedigree, as we know. He's a good player, is Nico Gonzalez. So I'm not against Gonzalez. It's more the fact that I just don't see it happen if we ain't got this sort of money. And this opens up a debate that I've been wanting to have on this channel for a while now, around if we can't afford these players. I get it, because we can't go and spend 200 million this summer and buy, like people were talking this morning about buying Demirovic and Bakwa for a combined sort of like another 70 million pounds. Leeds cannot spend 170 million, in my opinion, without some sales. And that is, when we talk about a transfer window, and obviously and I want to do more of a sort of combined video about this, where I just talk solely about this, and I might cover it in my obviously closing whistle video this evening. But if we look at one thing of all the things that we've done wrong this transfer window, the lack of sales is probably the worst. I mean, we have got, people are not going to like this, but we have got a number of players right now that for me are fantastic Championship players and were brilliant last year. But are they going to cut it in the Premier League? I'm looking at people like Dan James, potentially. I'm not saying these are all in this category. I'm just saying, let's have a bit of discourse in the comments. Let's see what you think about these players that I'm going to name. I'm looking at potentially Dan James. I'm looking at potentially Wilfried Gnonto. I'm looking at Meslier, who definitely, I think we can all agree, should be moved on. Gruev, I think, for the most part, we'll all agree should be moved on. I'm looking at potentially Joel Perreault as well. There's 5 there. Potentially, you could even throw Pascal Struijk in there as well. So that's 6. Ramazani could be 7. We're not going to sell him. He's going to go out on loan. And Joseph could have been 8. So there's 8 players there that we could have sold for money. And so far, we've generated zilch from them. None. Perreault, you could be looking at 15 million. Gnonto's potentially 15 million, potentially even more. All these players, by the way, I'm looking at minimum values here. So that's 30 million between Gnonto. Add another 15 million for James. That's 45 million. Add 25 for, say, Struijk, which again, for me, is really low. But even if you got 25 million, we're at 45. Now we're at, what, 70 million pounds. Then you add Meliers, another 5 million, 75 million. And all of a sudden, you're raising like nearly 80 million quid there. Not even selling for high fees, which then allows you to go and buy a Demirovic. Because right now, I'm looking at it. Would you rather sign a 15 million pound right winger? I'm trying to think of a name off the top of my head, but say just a 15 million pound right winger. Or would you rather sell Dan James, yeah, and buy Bakwa? And use that money that you sell from Dan James, say for 15 million, add your 15 million you've already got, and get Bakwa. For me, that's what I do. But we haven't seen Leeds United do that at all this window. Again, up front, would you rather Leeds sign a 15 million pound striker or sell Perot as well? And we've still got Nemetra and DCL, and then buy a 30 million pound striker and get Demirovic, for example. Now, I'm not saying you can exactly do that because obviously PSR is involved. But again, but you could do that with Gnonto, who, again, is he going to be good enough to convert into Premier League? I hope so, but I don't think I've seen much justification of that just yet, if I'm being honest. I didn't see loads of justification for that for the 2 years in the Championship. I think we're still basing it off the Premier League season under Jesse Marsch, when he was good, no doubt about it. The year went down, and he was our shining light that year. But since then, I don't think he's pushed on probably like we thought he would. Like, I thought he'd be putting up similar numbers last year to Somerville did the year before. And I thought he'd put similar numbers to Somerville the year that Somerville did it as well. So that is something we've done wrong. We haven't moved on. And Joseph, again, it's pure profit. We could have took 8 million. Potentially that would have been the better play. Ramazani, I don't want to sell. I think he's slightly different. I did say I want to loan him, and I still do. But I do think, and I probably will make a whole video on this, but we should have seen some more outgoings than we have. And if we'd have seen more outgoings, I think we could have afforded some of these quote-unquote statement additions in the attacking third that would have took Leeds to the next level. Because we don't actually need, if we're being honest, say we signed Demirovic, we don't need Nemetra, DCL, Perot and Demirovic. You don't need 4 strikers. And you've potentially got Harry Gray as well in there if you want to throw him in there. That's 5. You don't need that. You'd be better selling one of these 3. We've just brought Nemetra and we've brought DCL in already. So it'd have to be Perot, really. So you sell Perot and then you've got them 3. And then you've got Demirovic, DCL, and Nemetra, of course. Demirovic's probably number 1, DCL's number 2, and obviously Demirovic. Obviously, then Nemetra will be number 3. That looks like a core that could work. But I think we're limiting ourselves by not moving certain players on. I'm not saying that these players don't deserve it. I'm not saying that, but you've got to be ruthless in the Premier League, because if you're not, you'll go down. And that is what I'm slightly concerned with. And as I said, when I was talking about the valuations, I was going absolute bare minimum flip off. I know people are going to say, well, he's worth more, he's worth more, he's worth more. I get you. I agree with you. I think you could get 30 million for Struijk, potentially even more than that. But if we're just going in on a minimum basis, what they could have done, there's obviously 100% will be options for a Gnonto for 15 to 20 million pound. I mean, we were getting bids of over 20 million pound last summer, so I think there would be 15 million easy on the table there. But yeah, I think that's just something the Leeds United are going to have to consider. Anyway, yeah, Nico Gonzalez, anyway. Again, Nico Gonzalez, would you rather a 15 million pound winger or go buy Nico Gonzalez for 30? What would you rather? Because I think you get sales in. And also, with Struijk and Gnonto, they're both PSR players. Because we bought Struijk for basically nothing, I think £1 million. And he's been there that long, he'll be basically worth 0 now on the books. Gnonto, again, we bought for 4 million, but we've had him quite a few years now. He'll be basically 0 on the books. So them 2 there, you could get 50 million basically hard cash this summer on the table for your PSR books, which could allow you to go spend 50, another 50, more than that, probably 80 to 100 million pound, which could get you then Nico Gonzalez, Demirovic, and a number 10 if you wanted, and potentially a left back like that. These are the sort of things that I think we potentially should have been ruthless and gone and done, because you could get Khannouss then at 30 million, Bakwa at 30 million, and Demirovic at 30 million. There's 90 million, and then get a left back for 10 million. And you spent your 100 million that way. Would that be a better scenario than keeping Pascal Struijk and Gnonto? Potentially, probably, in terms of Leeds United staying up. As I said, I want to give these players a go. But with the such tight restrictions you've got at the moment, I think you've got to be creative and you've got to be ruthless. So yeah, that's just a thought anyway. But yeah, moving on to James Justin anyway, because I will do a video probably on its own regarding sort of sales when a news show, there isn't much news of that day. But anyway, let's move on to James Justin. £8 million fee, don't mind it. £2 million in add-ons. I've written £10 million in my notes. Don't know why. That would be too much. And some people have obviously said that this is too high. And I'm going to get onto that, why that isn't. This is a guy who's played 99 Prem appearances so far. He's played for England. He can play right back. He can play really efficiently at left back. Name me another Premier League player right now who you could sign for £8 million in 2 million add-ons, who can play right back and left back and has played it so efficiently as James Justin has over the last 4 or 5 years. I know he's had one season in the Championship, but mainly in the Premier League. Name one player. I can't think of one. And the other thing is, people are going, yeah, but he's got 1 year left on his contract, Scott. I get he's got 1 year left on his contract, but would it be better then if we bought a player with 2 years left who's not as good as Justin for 13 million? Because no, of course it wouldn't. So for us, yes, the contract's important, and that's why we've got him at a fee, but it's an opportunity in the market that we've took on board. I know people don't like that phrase, and I don't really like the opportunity in the market thing, because I think you need the correct profiles. But for me, Justin's perfect. And to get him for 8 million, with the experience he's had, I think he's won an FA Cup as well and a Community Shield. What is wrong with this at all? What is wrong for £8 million? Because the 2 million might not even be paid if we don't get if we don't do the things that the add-ons require. And then I've heard that sort of he's got injury problems. He's missed 2 games since the 2022-23 season, people. And he had 2 really bad injuries. Since that point, in the 22-23 season, 3 years ago now, he's missed 2 games. Can we not change the narrative? It's a good player. This is a good signing. A really, really good signing. As I said, name me a player. If you didn't want Justin, I get it. People don't like certain players, and that's fine. But name me a player who's played 99 times in the Premier League, won stuff as well in this country, in terms of the FA Cup, in terms of the Community Shield. You can write Community Shield off whatever you want. But name someone that's done that and can play so efficiently at left back. Because this is, by the way, when Justin was playing left back, was when Leicester were trying to get into the top 4. And I think they finished 5th 2 seasons. And he was playing left back both seasons in them seasons pretty efficiently. So name someone who's done that, who's still 27 years old, by the way, who we know, as I just mentioned, has missed 2 games in the last 3 years, that can play so efficiently right back and left back, who's only at £8 million. Come on. Like, you wouldn't be moaning if he had 2 years left on his contract and we paid 13 million. But because he's got 1 left, apparently this is a bad deal. Because what the other thing you've got to mention with this is as well, we're not the only people, you know, you can buy players with 1 year left on the contract. Everton have been looking at Justin all window. That's what they've been doing. They need a right back. They've been playing O'Brien at right back basically all pre-season. He was a centre back. They're looking for a right back. That's what they're doing. They're looking at Justin. They have done all window. What would have been the reaction if he'd have gone to Everton for £8 million plus 2 million of add-ons and we needed him desperately because he's a player that can play both? What would have been the reaction? There would have been an absolute Leeds United meltdown. Why are we not just paying 8 million? Why are we still stuck at 6? Why are we not just paying 8? Yet we pay the 8, we'd potentially get him over Everton, who we were looking at him, and now there's a massive reaction. Come on. We can't slag off every signing. What is wrong with this edition? I don't understand. We've talked about the injuries. For me, all right, he's had 2 big injuries, but they were so long ago now, and he hasn't really struggled with injuries since. Obviously, he missed a game at the weekend, fine, but that were a dead leg. But come on, like, really? That's my feeling on it. I just don't get it. I think this is a really good deal. As I said, if he'd have gone to Everton, we'd have been going, what are we doing? If we'd have ended up signing James Hill, who's on the thing, who I don't think we'll probably get anymore, instead of him, and we paid, say, like 6 million, because that was all we were willing to pay, and Everton paid 8 million for James Justin, who can play right back and left back so effectively, exactly what we need, we'd be thinking, what are we doing? And now we pay it and everyone's up in arms. Sometimes you just got to just say, give it a rest. Like, come on. But as I said, people might not like James Justin as a signing, and that is absolutely fine. But let's not make stuff up here. That is not a bad price. It really, really, really isn't, in my opinion. That's my opinion on Justin. But yeah. Anyway, let's sort of... the other thing with Justin as well to mention is, I do think this means that Schmidt will go out the door. I don't want to talk too much because, as I said, this show will go on forever otherwise. We're already at 19 minutes. And to sort of caveat a few other stories as well, like I mentioned I would do, Uche, who is of course missing on the signing scale now, looks like he is off to Wolves for 17 million quid. I didn't mind that addition. I think we were looking more about the 13, whatever that was a reported price, but he is going to go for 17. I still think that's a decent price for him. 22 years old. That could have been a good option for us. I think he fit a lot of the attributes that we needed, but you know, he's another one that's now off the table. He looks like he's off to Wolves. Dovbyk, who I really liked on this channel, obviously I talked about, 28 years old, was top scorer in La Liga, not this year, the year before. At, of course, Girona, I think got 24 goals in La Liga. Well, he's now going with a loan with an option to buy to Villarreal. So that's off the table. Again, that would have been perfect for us. It means we won't even have to pay this summer as well for him. So yeah, I do think that's a missed opportunity, but that's another one off the table. There's also reports about Buonanotte, who obviously was an option as well for Leeds, who's now looks like he's going to go to Lyon, although we do know that hasn't fully gone through yet because Brighton still favour a move to the Premier League. Come on, Leeds United. Come on. Please, that'd be a great addition. But yeah, they're the other things that I'd want to cover in today's show. But yeah, anyway, let me know what you think. I didn't really try to be too controversial, but I think this discourse about James Justin is just unfair. It's a good price point. He's 27 years old as well. Like, yeah. Anyway, thanks all for watching. Let me know what you think. Let me know if I'm wrong about Justin as well, because I do want to see you guys' opinion. And let me know what you think about the sales as well that I mentioned in this, because I do think that could be a tad controversial. But yeah, this is what I do on the channel. I'll give you what I deem to be the fair opinion. So yeah, thanks all for watching anyway, and I'll catch you on the next one. And also, as I said, if you could subscribe, that would be brilliant. I think two have subscribed while this has been live, which is fantastic. But yeah, thanks all for watching. Bye for now.